You're on the couch, tripping with Dr. Pete.
Yo, 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 yo. What's going on, everybody? Good morning. And good evening. I guess it's not morning anymore at all, huh? It's late night. Jeez. I haven't done a morning show in a minute. I'm back on here. I was thinking about some things. How in this life we have dreams. There's gifts in us. Things that we know we probably we could do and probably must do in order to feel fulfilled with our existence. But along the journey, we kind of move away from it. We stop striving to do those things, to live that life. And in being sidetracked, we become deeply depressed. We stop manifesting kind of the dream. It's like it's the cliche, like the raisin in the sun, that idea that life starts to kind of like whittle away at us. And then we're in this place where I think we become deeply kind of depressed, and we start to look for, instead of chasing the dream, instead of manifesting the creativity that we were made for, we start to look for substitutes, whether it's in drugs or sex or, social media, whatever it is. We start looking for, substitutes that are like cheap. They give us the thrill that the only real way that you can truly achieve the happiness that we're trying to have, the real happiness, is by manifesting that creativity, that genius, that actualizing that purpose. And so these little kind of, I guess, they're like false senses of happiness, these micro gratifications that are super easy, cheap gratification. We end up actually doing damage to ourselves, physically, actually, but also we never really become what we're supposed to become as a function of it. So I've been kind of thinking about that all day. And I want to talk a little bit about it just because I love stereo for that, And I figure if I'm going to come back onto stereo, I want to have some good conversations. And I hope you guys will join me. Yeah. So what I'm going to talk about is, like how do you become mentally, emotionally tough? And I want to hear your stories. I want to hear, what's your take on it? How do you become more? What has been kind of like your secret to manifesting the you that's in? Have you taken on the creative endeavor? Maybe some of you are here on stereo for that reason. I know I am, in part. There's a part of me there's in me that I've studied a lot. I've spent my life, kind of dedicated to kind of trying to find meaning. And so sharing my thoughts as a psychologist, this is something that's, it gives me great joy to be with you, to be on stereo, to be, podcasting. I really enjoy it. What is it that you might be doing? How have you kind of pushed yourselves? So I'm curious to hear your thoughts, So I have a couple of things that I think are good, I think one of the things that I'm learning, and I'm getting old here, 45, and I know this is starting to become popular understanding, but I'm starting to change my kind of orientation towards setbacks. I'm starting to really not look at them as, problematic as I once did, or I'm not as anxious when they occur. I just understand that in some ways they're demanding me to reset my orientation towards life. So I think that's really important, how you view your setbacks. They say, they give the example like a setback is a setup type of thing. I kind of, Freud talks about it. He says, when you struggle, when you go through these, what would be considered obstacle moments, these really catastrophic moments in your life, he says that you'll look back on them and understand them to be the most beautiful. And I am starting to really see that, especially as I get I get more life behind me, and I've had some more struggles, some really heavy struggles. I look back at those struggles and I say, yeah, my divorce was definitely a defining moment. But not the divorce, but even just the process of going through a divorce. Deeply defining. So I appreciate you guys kind of hanging out with me, and I'm going to pop some bubbles, but I want to hear for you, like, what has been your journey around, kind of seeing yourself as, I think for me, what I'm saying too is just realizing and taking away this, because when you go through a struggle, when you go through a failure, you become really critical, hypercritical of yourself in some ways. And so I've kind of changed that. And so my toughness has also kind of come out of having some patience with my process. Except, like, it's like a disposition towards struggle that I don't add to the struggle. I kind of go with the struggle, kind of dive into it. And, the Buddhists, they talk about kind of welcoming struggle to your doorstep, because it too is kind of like your greatest teacher, So let me pop a couple of these bubbles, see what folks are thinking. I'm Dr. Pete. You're hanging out. We're going to be talking a little bit about your journey to becoming more. Yeah, our path to manifesting our greatness. I'm really excited about this idea. So let's talk.
Hey, Dr. Pete. Seeing you in these stereo streets is a bit of a gift. Shout out to you and everybody else in the room. And I'm here for the conversation. Shout out to those who know about becoming mentally, or keeping the balance of mental strength. And I think it's being able to take, the carpe diem effect, to take control and seize the moment of, of life. So yeah, my mental strength comes in my opportunistic ways. The fact that I have to take, opportunities when I have them. But, there's a couple, but I'm here for the conversation. Shout out to everybody in the room, and shout out to you, Dr. Pete. Good to see you in these stereo streets.
Yo, what's up, brother Truth? It's good to see you, bro. Thanks for jumping into my show. And that's right. Carpe diem, seize the day. Welcome the adversity is what we're saying. That's a real big part. But it's good to see a good guy like Roy Truth. But I'll tell you, one of the things that I'm trying to be better at is also not just my disposition about events or my own struggles, my own shortcomings, my setbacks, but I'm also trying to become better at how I embrace negative people in my life. I've been talking to my patients about this too. One of the things that comes up to mind is, it's like, I really try to push myself to embody compassion, to be compassionate, right? And to be patient. And these attributes, I know they're so important. You can't test these attributes on a good person. Like, that's a good person. It's easy to be patient with a good person, right? It's easy to be compassionate with like a kind person who's worthy of that, affection, right? But the true test of compassion is when you meet an asshole, right? Like when you meet somebody who's fucked up and dragging you through it, like, then you're really kind of forced to look, can you still find a way to be compassionate to that person who's making it extremely hard to do so? This is something I'm really working on. I think it's also kind of like, it's, how it's kind of keeping me in a place that's fixed, no matter what or who comes into my space. I'm trying to do better to not let people have that negative effect on my being, by first not taking their shit personally, like leaving their shit with them, but also kind of coming to know, like, they're in dealing with this negative person is an opportunity for me to get the deepest levels of these virtues that I really value. I hope I'm making any sense here. Please, let me pop some bubbles. Let me know what's going on. Talk to me, folks. Yeah, hanging out with Dr. Pete. I'm here on stereo. We're talking. I'm actually a psychologist, and this is not. I'm not doing therapy or giving therapeutic advice, but we're here kicking it about real shit. And I'm looking to learn from you, and I hope you're going to take some stuff here from me too. So let's do it.
Hey, Dr. Pete. So, ways to become mentally, emotionally strong. I think the first thing you should do is definitely, evaluate your situation and really truly seek understanding. Also, to hold yourself accountable to the things that you could have, done different. Things or the actions that you played to be in the situation that you were in. To really hold yourself accountable. The next ways that you could become mentally, emotionally stronger is by seeking to understand another person versus trying to be understood. Because most times, when it comes to relationships, if there's a lack in understanding, then there's going to be a lack in communication. So that could also help you be emotionally stronger so you can have better conversations with people.
Yeah, yeah. That accountability piece, I think society's really pushed kind of for us to be kind of like, productivity, to be prolific. Like you've got to be producing. So there's this formula that they say, like if you set these goals and, you wake up in the morning and you're very clear and intentional and you make your checklist about what you're going to achieve. And that at the end of the day, you should assess your day and kind of review and see how you've done. Now I'm not very mechanical or robotic like that. You know what I mean? So, but I do see the value in kind of that critical self-assessment, that critical self-examination, looking even just at the day, but maybe at the month, at your year, every birthday. I kind of just think, look, where am I? What? And I sometimes I do this mirror work. I've talked about it on here before, where I go in the mirror and I ask myself, I look myself dead in the fucking eye. And I go like, what are you up to? Like, what the fuck are you doing? Maybe sometimes I'm soft and kind, but sometimes I'm like real, like hard with me. Like, yo, what are you up to? Like, knock it the fuck off. And that could be whatever it is. Am I eating too much? Am I sleeping in too late? Am I smoking too much weed? Like whatever the fuck I'm doing, I start getting real with myself. I think that's really important, to be real with yourself. And the funny thing, it goes back to, because sometimes the you that you're kind of struggling with is not even your voice. Sometimes you're confused and you're struggling with the critical, the criticism from outside. You're worried about what other people think. You're worried about what your, voices of old, like maybe abusive relationships, whether it's your parents or loved one, like somebody that you were in, and you're still like, that shit is just like created like a clutter. But that's not what I'm talking about. I want to be clear, not those voices. Fuck those people. I'm talking about a conversation between you and you. You know what I'm saying? Like a real conversation with yourself. I'm telling you, if you've not done this mirror work, try it. Go look in the mirror and have a real conversation with you. Like, yo, what's up? Is this the best we got? I think that's definitely a part of, I think, the spiritual process of becoming more,
Hey, Dr. Pete, this is Harvey, just checking in. I heard your question, and I'm just going to say this. The only way to become strong is to recognize where you are weak, because only then can you address the issues that are stopping you from becoming a stronger person. That's all I'm saying. Recognize your limitations, overcome them, and then achieve beyond that.
Yeah. So really kind of, again, that's another example of really just, if you want to become stronger, you've got to become very intimately connected and aware of your limitations. I think that's really good. Yeah, for sure. The funny thing is, it's 20 people can pass you by. And social media is such a great example of this. You can get, 20 people who say positive things to you, but it only takes that one person that's negative to fucking tilt you. You know what I'm talking about? Where you're like, holy shit, like, and now you're starting to like, and it's like this, it's like you got all this good crop growing in your mind, and then there's one bad apple is just fucking spoiling a bunch of thoughts about yourself. That's fucking horrible, but it happens. One of the things that I've done to start to kind of be able to pull out the outside negative influence is I start to say to myself, why would I give value to an opinion of a person who I probably don't even really respect? Meaning, I'm not really deeply impressed by that person. They haven't done anything to achieve anything. They're not work. Why should I worry about what they're thinking? Why should I give what they're thinking real estate in my psyche? This is what I come up with. Yo, we're talking a little bit. There's only two of us here, but it's good to hear you. Let's see what these folks are thinking. Toy is in the building.
Yes. Becoming mentally, emotionally strong is a challenge, especially the times that we're living in right now. So thank you, Dr. Pete, for opening up the subject. All I know is that at times we feel that we're alone, but you have to be in the fight to get what you need done. And I know sometimes you're sitting here thinking that your life is not as good as others, but you know what? There's always someone has in a less predicament than what you're in. So you have to constantly, as they say, life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. So whatever works at that time, if you need to read, if you need to tune into your spiritual sense, being able to give back, to keep your mind afloat. It is something that is going to be a process, but then you have to look back at what you have been through in your life. And then you'll say, you know what? I got through that and I definitely will get through this. So you just have to maintain your strength, and if you feel like you're drowning, reach out to someone. I know it's
I love that so much. There's like, we each have a resume, like a bunch of experiences we've been through and a lot of things we've been through in this life, right? And for some reason we seem to forget how very resilient we are. Like, no matter what the fuck we went through, we're still here, right? And like, there's something about like forgetting just how strong you are. Like, wow, how could you possibly forget? But we do. And instead of having this mantra of like, I persist through everything, I persevere through everything I've ever faced, it's like, oh no, here it comes. Well, no, this is not gonna fucking crush you. Recognizing that fear shit and how pervasive it is and how much it can limit our lives, I think really taking off the shackles of fear is a huge thing that makes us stronger. Remembering our resilience, having a baseline of yourself and recognizing how strong you are and letting that really feed your self-esteem in a real way. Self-esteem is like, there's these two kind of parts to self-esteem. One part is self-liking, and the other part is self-efficacy, which is like the belief that you can achieve a thing, right? So, they're very much connected. These two concepts, self-liking and self-efficacy, are so connected under the term of self-esteem. You don't know which one is influencing the other, but they're both very connected. So the self-efficacy is the belief that you can do a thing, right? And then self-liking is once you do a thing, you like yourself. You say, yeah, I'm a high achieving person that I feel good about. And so I think some ways the road to self-esteem, you want to feel good about yourself, you want to feel mentally strong, is get to achieving, even if it means, especially if it means persisting through some failures. The more failures you're able to persist through, the more obstacles you're able to traverse, the greater your self-efficacy or belief that you can achieve will become. And the greater your belief or self-efficacy becomes, the more you like yourself. These things work right hand in hand. And now self-esteem is correlated to every part of achievement. You're high enough self-esteem, high enough loving of yourself, anything is possible. So I do believe persisting through obstacles and really paying attention and building kind of a resume of achievement. Yo, they say if you want to sink big ships, you got to go where the water's deep. Oh, I often advise folks, take some big risks. Fail big, I tell people, go ahead, write that book. It doesn't fucking matter. Take a shot. Just go ahead and get it done. See how it feels. It doesn't matter. Ask that person to lunch. So what? They say no. Take the shot anyway. You know what I mean? You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, right? So let's see. We're gonna pop some bubbles here. I want to hear what folks are up to. It's good to hear you guys. You're hanging out with Dr. Pete. We're just talking a little bit about kind of what makes you strong. I'm excited. I was listening to Farrakhan today. He's got me all pumped up. I'm thinking about, how can I want to be able to give Farrakhan level messages to the people one of these days.
Yo, Dr. Pete, this is Harvey. I've been flipping through the Stereo podcast, and, some conversations are bullcrap. And some conversations are like, interesting. But what you said just now in your podcast was the first time I was like, wow. He vocalized what I was thinking about doing. Anyway, thank you for what you said. I don't know how many people you helped us now.
Oh, man. Yo, thanks so much for jumping in, and thanks everybody for tuning in and hanging out with me. I know I haven't been out here as much as I used to be, but I miss you guys a lot. It feels good to be hanging out, and I had to. I think this is important, right? I took a little bit of space from Stereo because there was a point where it was starting to stress me out a little bit. And when you do the work that I do, I love the work that I do. I love all the people that I work with. They're almost like family to me, all my patients. And so, especially ones I've been working with for a long time, right? And so, but when you do this work, people say to me all the time, they go, how do you not take on people's problems? And I just don't. It just never happens. But I do have to pay close attention to my emotions. And when I choose things that start to stress me out, I have to choose to step away from them. You have to be very protective of yourself, folks. So I am coming back into Stereo, but in a way that makes sense for me, because I have to be protective of my energy if I'm going to be an effective partner, if I'm going to be an effective father, if I'm going to be an effective therapist, and even a good podcaster. You know what I'm saying? So I really appreciate all of those who hung out with me before, and for all the new folks that are hanging out with me now. It's good to meet you. Yeah, I'm Dr. Pete, and we're here on Stereo. We're rocking. I appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Yo, so I'll tell you this. We're talking about ways of becoming stronger, becoming more, and emotionally. I'll tell you, if you want to improve your energy, your happiness by 10%. 10%. And I got to tell you, 10% is really all you can ask. People take antidepressants and they really don't change the mark as much as people imagine. They think that they're going to take this antidepressant, pop this pill, and they're going to have nothing but happiness. No. I mean, you could smoke some good strands of bud that probably bump it up a little more than 10%. But for the most part, there's not many things that you can do that you can say, if I do this thing, it's going to change my happiness by a good margin. That's significant that you can actually feel. And I'll tell you, for me, one of the things that absolutely has a positive effect on my being is meditation. Meditation is super powerful. And the first thing so people who meditate, they totally know what the fuck I'm talking about. It changes your energy, improves your mood, increases your happiness, your thinking, your self-control, everything. All positive effects. Now, research shows and everything. So the people who do it get it. And then the people who don't meditate, the first thing that they say every single time, every time, is, I try to meditate, but I just can't clear my mind. My mind. And I'm like, Yo, imagine if a baby said that the first time they try to walk. Like, right? Like they were like, I took a step, but this shit just didn't work. So now I'm 7 and I just crawl everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Right? Like you just keep trying. And the funny thing is, you start to build a relationship with yourself in the practice of even trying. Like the notion, the key, I'm going to give you this right now. I'm going to give you this about meditation, which is, again, we're talking about things that make you mentally, emotionally stronger. And I believe meditation is probably hugely helpful. The key to meditation is not clearing your mind. Let that thought go. The key to meditation is just coming back to center. Whatever the center is, if the center is breathing, if it's chanting, if it's a visualization, if it's an energy, a thought, a word, a bird that you're looking at, the sky, whatever it is that becomes your meditation. You could look at a flame of a candle. Whatever your center is, meditation is experiencing a thought that takes you from that center, distracts you for a moment, and meditation is returning back to center. Now, what happens is you eventually, through the practice, you build the muscle of finding your thoughts being interrupted, distracted, and then you build the muscle of bringing it back. You start to become good at observing how your thoughts move. And so there's a you that's kind of over your thoughts. And so you kind of think about it like your thoughts being the clouds, right? Now, clouds come and go, and people get totally distracted. Sometimes we think we are the clouds, but we're not. We're the sky. You dig what I'm saying? We're over the clouds. And so meditation is recognizing that these clouds pass and just kind of observing them and kind of saying, well, I see that cloud. I'm not going to live in it. I'm not going to exist. I'm not going to build a house there. I'm just going to notice it and get back to being the sky for a minute. Super powerful. Now, a practice is just that. It's not something that you're perfect at. And sometimes I'm able to do it, and sometimes I'm able to meditate for long periods of time. Sometimes it just, for whatever reason, it's a shorter meditation. But I don't even judge that. And that's one of the other crazy byproducts of meditation is you stop judging yourself. You find your thoughts that they're not where they should be. And this practice, it transfers into every part of your life. So all of a sudden, you find yourself observing a thought that's about to happen or an emotion. I'm frustrated. And you find yourself, even sometimes you can already have started to be negative. You catch yourself and then you say, I'm going to come back to center. Like you say, I don't need to be in that space. The me that I want to be, the being that I want to be most of the time is not quite there. So let me pull myself back to center. And this happens, this voice, this self-control piece starts to develop. It's like a muscle. I don't think that there's anything more powerful that I've experienced that one can do to make the mind stronger. More recently, I've pulled back from smoking at all. I haven't smoked any weed, and I think marijuana is medicinal. So there's no judgment for all those who are blazed right now. Happy smoking. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create that state within myself through meditation. I'm trying to bring myself through my breath, and what happens as you meditate more often, you create a vehicle. Breath becomes the vehicle by which you return back to center. So when you find your energy off, you find yourself in an angry place or frustrated or fearful, right? You take your breath and you return to center. And in a calm, at the end of a breath, you find yourself in a different state again. The state that you choose, the center that you choose. It's a deeply powerful practice. I recommend it to everyone. And let me tell you, it doesn't have to start out with a 3-hour meditation. It doesn't have to, and I have meditated for that long. My longest meditation was 3 hours, and it looked like something like 20 minutes or something like that, 3.5 hours, right? And that's a fucking long time to meditate. And I did ohms. I chanted with like this Buddhist thing I have from YouTube. I chanted and I did ohms and I did breathing meditation for 3 hours. That was a long meditation. But I'll tell you, it doesn't have to be that. You can meditate for 5 minutes. You can meditate for 1 minute. Just a minute ago, and I listened to this yogi say this, and it was super powerful. I was meditating as I was listening to him. And the yogi said, he said, I am meditating as we speak. And I got it, because as I was listening to him, I thought he was so slow, but it didn't seem to bother me because I was meditating. I was totally present with him, totally engaged. And I realized that you can make the practice of meditation in every breath that you take as you walk throughout the day. You can breathe and claim a state of peace through your breath. Really powerful practice. I recommend that everyone try it. And don't just try it and say, I didn't do it well. That's the part of you. The first obstacle is getting over the judgment that you may have. And let me tell you, that's a helpful thing, because boy, do we judge ourselves to death sometimes. Yeah, here we go. Let's pop a couple bubbles, see what's happening. It's good to hear you all. Thanks for jumping. I'm Dr. Pete. I'm actually, Stereo is one of my favorite places to hang out, and there's some really good friends. And E-Reed is definitely one of my favorite people on here, and I'm sure she's yours too. So let me pop and see what she has to say.
Good evening, Dr. Pete. It's good to see you in these stereo streets. It's good to hear your voice, and this type of dialogue has definitely been missed. I have definitely missed this type of dialogue and this type of intellectual conversations. I just want to say I agree with you. When I came back to stereo, I had the same exact plan, especially the protecting my energy. So yeah, shout out to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, E-Reed. Miss you. Hey, I'll tell you this. There's a saying they say in the AA rooms. They say, now I'm not an alcoholic, never been an alcoholic, but I've worked with a lot of folks in recovery. And I'm familiar with some of the mantras. And one of the mantras that I've always taken with me is, take what you want, take what you need, and leave the rest. Now, that's a great philosophy. Not easy to do, but really powerful. Don't take more than what you need. Don't feel like don't allow the rest that's not for you to be imposed upon you. Take what you need and leave the rest. And that's how I'm going to treat stereo. Right now, this is what I need. I'm glad that you're with me. You're hanging out with Dr. Pete. Let's pop a couple of these bubbles here and see what folks are thinking.
Anything that I do in consistency that's positive helps me to regain or to keep my emotional strength. So, especially when I go through adversity, I like creating music. I like expressing myself. Me being on stereo was a way for me to keep my emotional strength, because every time I felt like I needed that affirmation, I came to a source that I knew I could get it best, and stereo has been a great source of affirmation. So yeah, the consistency, it's been that for me. Positive consistency helps keep me mentally strong. Shout out to those who know. Shout out to everybody in the room. Back at it again, and back to you, Dr. P.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Roy. I'll tell you this, consistency. Boy, have I struggled with that concept. I think I've come to understand that, and I'm trying to, one of the things that helps me with my consistency is to really kind of stop focusing so much on the outcome, but dedicate more of my energy to loving the journey, to really engaging with the practice in a different way that allows for me to be more patient with the whole process. Because I think losing patience and sometimes losing hope, it makes me just lose the practice. It makes me just kind of, in this quiet way, without really thinking much about it, kind of give up. And so what helps with consistency is really falling in love with the process. I've more recently recommitted again, and I've done this about 1,000 times, but I've recommitted to working out, and I'm falling in love with hanging out at the gym. Like I miss it when I'm not there. You know what I mean? Like, and I go there and I got my music and I'm like, instead of thinking like I gotta work out so I can get, I'm like, I want to go there to hang out and talk to people and see people. Because remember, there was a pandemic. We couldn't even see people for a minute. Now at least I get to see forms. You know what I mean? Be in the energy of other people. Some inspired by. I mean, there's some beautiful people at the gym. Real inspiration. I enjoy that. I enjoy going and just feeling my body move and being thankful that I can still move, like, getting into the weights and just feeling what it feels like to feel powerful rather than, again, being stuck in the mirror. Like, where's my growth points? Am I not changing my body? No, it's like, no, I just want to engage with the now in a different way. I don't know if that makes sense to folks, but it's been definitely helping me to be more consistent. But thanks for that, Roy. We got a lot of bumbles here. Let me see what's going on. It's good for you guys to join me. I'm Dr. Pete. Thanks for hanging out.
Hey, what's going on, Dr. Pete? I'm Teddy. Semi-new to stereo, getting a feel of it or whatever. Kind of want to know more about it. Trying to get my followers up, so follow me. I already followed you, but anyway, I love how you was explaining meditation because I've been kind of flirting with it off and on, and I like how you broke it down. Sometimes even when I watch TV, and if you're not watching TV, that screensaver thing come up on your TV where it's like mountains and trees, and I catch myself kind of just in deep thought real quick and don't even notice it, and then I snap back and be like, oh, let me turn on the TV. But I think that was like a form of meditation and not even know it. And one day I was like, let me just kind of just look at this screensaver and see where my mind goes. And I guess it was just another part of me flirting with meditation.
I love the way you're describing that, bro. Flirting with meditation. First of all, welcome to Stereo. It's good to have you. I'm sure you're going to be an ad here, man. Enjoy yourself. So I'll tell you this. Meditation is whatever it is to you. There's so many ways to meditate, right? And I flirt with new ways of meditating for myself all the time. I want to invite everybody who's listening real quick just to try this real quick, because you if you haven't done it before, you might like it. So there's these constructs. These words are constructs. They're ideas, but the ideas hold meaning. And if you get deep enough into the word, you can manifest it in your being, and you can kind of embody it in the moment. So I want you to do me a favor, and do yourself a favor. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe in, I want you to feel calm. And as you exhale, I want you to smile on the inside. So breathe in, calm, and exhale, smile on the inside. Again, just focusing on those two concepts. Calm as you breathe in, feel the calm over your body. And as you exhale, smile on the inside. Now, if you keep doing that, and just keep breathing and focusing on calm as you breathe in, you expand the calm. And as you exhale, you smile on the inside. As you smile on the inside, you can almost feel kind of like a glow. Like it almost feels like you're expanding happiness, right? And if you do that over and over again, you can expand that concept of happiness. It's almost like you're manifesting love right there as you're smiling on the inside. It's powerful that you can create that state just by deep focusing on it. I love that. So that's a meditation that I've kind of started to explore. Particularly when I was doing yoga at the end of my practice, I would breathe in and think about power, and I would exhale and think about health. And I would feel healthy, right? You can feel it over your body. Breathe in happy, exhale love. You can feel these things as you think deep about them. So I want to encourage you to try that. And try different types of meditation, visualization, guided meditation, whatever works for you. See, if you enjoy it, it's working.
Hey, Dr. Pete, this is Harvey. So here's the question I think that people can ask themselves, but they don't want the answer to. What do you think about yourself? You know, because you have to live with yourself 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What do you think about yourself? What areas are you lacking in? What areas do you need to grow in? How are you going to be a better you tomorrow? And like I said before, I was flipping through these stereo podcasts and I was like, you know, this is the first time I heard someone talking about something real. You know what I mean? Real stuff.
Yeah. I really like that question. And I was talking before about the mirror work and asking myself, you know, getting into the mirror and asking yourself, you know, what are you up to? Having real conversation, you know. I got to tell you, one of the hardest things that I've struggled with is you know, body image. It's been a struggle my whole life. You know, food for me has always been something that it's kind of allowed me to. It's given me just a cheap happiness. You know, it's helped, I guess, deal with anxiety that I wouldn't even put into terms that I had. You know, but whenever I would feel stressed, food was there. You know, whenever I feel sad, food made me happy. It was like it's a drug. You know, and there's this author, and she writes it beautifully. She says, you know, it kind of talks about starting with pain and ending with more pain. She says, you know, we're really all searching for love. We're all searching for love. And so we look for love in places that love doesn't even exist. And that's what we're doing when we overeat. We're looking for love, or not just overeat, but even sometimes in sex, sometimes in, you know, it could be drugs, it could be video games, it could be social media, whatever it is, we're looking for love in places that love doesn't exist. And then what happens is, because it's an empty, and we're doing this thing and we know it's empty, we do it anyway. And we hope that it just gives us this happiness, this relief, this reprieve from the sadness, from the anxiety, just for a moment, right? It gives us a break from it. And then, but the reality is, and then we go right back to it. And not only did after we engaged in the act that was empty, not only did we not get love that sustained, but we feel even worse about ourselves. We feel even more empty, sadder. So it's an act that starts with pain and ends up with more pain and creates this vicious cycle. And so I think about that a lot. For me, my body image and my relationship with food, it's been something that it's probably the only area in my life that I've struggled with deeply, and have not been happy with kind of the relationship. Now, I got to tell you, I've lost a lot of weight, gained a lot of weight, and lost a lot of, like, I've looked great at different points in my life and felt great about my body, but you know, I think a lot of times I say, I wish I was, you know, as skinny as the first time I thought I was fat. You get what I'm saying? I wish I was that way now, because I was critical of myself when I shouldn't have been. So there's this process of kind of, and this is my point. Thanks for hanging out through that long story. But my point is I'm trying to learn to love myself while at the very same time pushing myself to be more. This is a really difficult thing to do. You know, he asked the question, what don't you like about yourself? I feel like not liking stuff about myself is the very pain that starts the vicious cycle of pain. So I don't think it's very useful at all to dislike yourself. I don't think it even helps you to work on the things that you quote unquote dislike. I think it's a trapping. I think if you think about it, if I'm going to be hard on myself and dislike myself and be, you know, really reckless and mean with myself, it's creating that cycle again. I have a greater void and a greater need for love. And so I'm probably going to end up going back to some of the very bad habits that got me fucked up and disliking myself in the first place. And then I'm going to dislike myself even more. I know I said a lot there. I hope that I hope folks are staying with me. I hope I'm making meaning. It's clear in my mind. And I know many of you at different points, all of us have been at spots where we really have struggled with liking ourselves. It's not easy. It's not easy to love yourself. But I think finding the ways to love ourselves is probably the greatest lesson that we can have, the greatest things that we can learn, and the most valuable parts of our journey. Not just loving ourselves when we achieve, which is great, but loving ourselves even as we struggle. Try to sit quietly at one of your meditations and ask yourself, make yourself have a conversation with your future self. Try to imagine yourself of 20 years down the line, or even an 80-year-old version of you coming down the road to meet you. And as they're walking, you see kind of come into view, you see them, and it's you at 80. And boy, you're walking slower and different. And now you meet up with them and you start to have a conversation with yourself. What does that self say to you? What advice would it give you? I want you to really think about it just for a minute. And if you can, leave a comment. Tell me, what do you think the self would say to yourself? That 80-year-old you. I think myself would say, be present. It goes so fast. When I've done this exercise, that's been one really powerful informant. I've realized there'll be a day, because I've done a lot of work in geriatric hospitals with people on their deathbed, and there's a day when, we all get sick and we all die. It's inevitable. This life, no matter how much we try to cling to it, there is a mortality, there is an end. And in the end, I don't want to feel like I didn't do something that was in my heart. I started coaching football. I don't know if you guys can hear my voice. It sounds a little raspy. I've been yelling like crazy. I'm back into coaching football. I haven't been around football for 20 years. I've been becoming a doctor, but it feels so great to return to something. I feel like I feel my life on purpose. It feels good right now, podcasting, being present with you, thinking, manifesting these thoughts. It feels like I'm living. And I think that if my 80-year-old self were to talk to me, he'd say, keep going. Don't waste any time. Keep doing, even if it's small, failing, just keep going. Do it all. Do it all while you can do it. Because one day you won't be able to. So good to hear you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm Dr. Pete. I'm looking forward to popping a couple more of these bubbles, hearing your thoughts.
I feel like we are almost on, actually we are on perfection overload, just simply because of social media. But for me, I think I've learned that you're not going to master and be good at everything. Being proficient in most things is good enough, but just focus on your strengths. The things that you are good at are what you really want to master, because you only have so many hours in a day, and you don't need to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. Just a master of one or two things. Perfection should never be the goal. So,
right,
that's pretty much it with me.
Yeah. I'll tell you, you're right. I love that. I love what you said about perfection overload, and perfectionism is this elusive concept that really doesn't even exist. So it can drive you crazy and lead to essentially paralysis. Like you become stuck because you can't achieve this perfection. It creates an anxiety that's overwhelming. I think it's really good. When I think about kind of like the things that I want to lock into, like on a regular basis, like I want to make better connections with people. like deeper, more meaningful connections. Like when I talk to people, I try to really listen and be present. I try to connect to my dreams and think about like what are my dreams. Like I have a dream of me painting and doing this masterful. I saw this, and I even know the type of painting that I want to do, and I know I can do it. And I have this vision of maybe one day kind of, having a gallery that I buy and sell Black art, and, and even having some of my own art in the gallery. That's a dream of mine. I think it's important to dream big. I think it really is. And it's not big for somebody else. It's big for you. I think that's important. One of the things I'm trying to do too, another thing I'm trying to do that I think makes you stronger, I'm trying to get up early, man. Like I gotta say, I am a night owl by nature. I can stay up super late, but it definitely, I have to say, there's a different type of productivity that happens at night. Like, yeah, I could do some podcasting. I could podcast the shit out of something at, late night, right? But that early morning, there's a different grind. Like you're more likely to work out in the morning. You're likely to get out into nature. So getting up early, you just get more done. And then you feel better about yourself. You feel better about who you are and what you're up to. So I think it really just adds to you in a lot of different ways. I think meditation is huge. And, I talked about that. But I think it also helps with your focus. Being clear about what you want to focus on, it's a huge thing. Where do you want to put your energy? What are you going to put your mind to? There's this Wayne Dyer, I love it. It says, wherever your focus goes, your energy flows. So wherever you focus, it expands. Now, this concept is huge. Wherever you focus, it expands. Think about it. If you focus on something negative, it will expand in your psyche. You focus on the past, it will expand in your psyche. And that negative thing can actually make you feel depressed or sad. You focus on a pain that you have. If you focus, that pain can expand. You can actually feel it as if it's in the now and cry. That's how powerful you can expand something. But conversely, you can also do that with the positive. So you've got to be in control. Meditation helps you to control your mind, to decide where do you want to focus. And even when your mind drifts off of focus, you return back to focus. Focusing is essential for your success. In a time where everything is competing for your focus, distractions are constantly coming in. And I mean constantly. I had this app on the phone for a while. You ever get tied up into fucking one of these games on your phone? It's like the weirdest little game, but they suck you so deep in that you can find hours passing and you're doing stupid shit. Well, let me tell you, I was farming and building the Simpsons app, and it was you'd make this little thing, you wait the time period. You know how these apps work, right? These games. And so I was building this Simpsons village, and I had all the characters. I just fucking love it. I grew up on the Simpsons. I loved it. And so, when I put the phone down, it would have a voice. It would put Homer's voice in it, and he'd be like, "Come over here, play with me. You know what to do." He'd haze you. He'd be like, "Stop focusing on what you're doing and come over here." So the point is to let me know that the phone is literally calling you out of your focus. The chimes in your focus. There's research. These chimes are set at such a decibel that they're almost in a sense, hypnotizing your subconscious. You're pulled emotionally. When you hear a chime or a ding, whether it's a message or any type of thing, you almost lose everything that's going on in the now and you run to your phone. There's so many pulls on your attention. And so in this day and age, the person who can stay focused is the person who can succeed. And it's not an easy task. It's not an easy task. One of the things that I do is I put my phone on silent. Put your fucking phone on silent. Because, and there's a thing people recommend. I don't always do it, but there's a digital sundown. At a certain point, I'm just not available by phone. I have to do it so I can put my mind to other things. Just because someone's calling me or texting me doesn't mean that I must shift my focus. You must be in charge of what you focus on and when you want to allow for your focus, your attention to divert. You must if you want to be strong.
This is Dr. Pete, and you've been tripping with Dr. Pete. For the full show, please listen to us live on stereo, or you can listen to playbacks on YouTube, Anchor, and Spotify. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, huh?
Peace.